I'm done making you guys wait. We're finally here. The Uno Dos Tre review as promised. My redemption review for the Trilogy. What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It's time to reflect on Uno, Dos, and Tre, the trilogy and kinda ill-fated series of albums from punk rock band Green Day, all released in the year of 2012, all within 3 months of each other. That sounds like a marketing nightmare, and it was just that for Warner Brothers. Before we dive headfirst into today's review, I have to thank our sponsor, the Green Day Idiot Nation Amino app. You guys might know that I've been sponsored by the Amino apps in the past. Really cool place to interact with other fans, talk about music, share fan art, and talk about upcoming tours. I'm seeing Green Day in 2017. I'm not even ready yet. There's all sorts of different things on there. You can chat with individuals, groups, post links to maybe stuff that you've worked on Green Day related before, and it's nice that they have little communities like that. They've got everything like Green Day and My Chemical Romance, to pop punk, specific genres, to pop music like Halsey and 21 Pilots. There's apps for all different sorts of things, different strokes for different folks. And if you'd like to download the app for free, it's the top 2 links in the description down below, depending on if you're iPhone or Android. I have the app, username ARTV. Go follow me on there. I'll be following some of you guys back, and of course maybe liking some of your posts. I'll be posting my Green Day related stuff over there, so make sure you give me a follow if you've downloaded the app. So here we go, the trilogy review that you've all been waiting for. Wait, Quattro, how did you get in there? By the way, did you guys see the thumbnail for this video? Holy shit, my girlfriend killed it on this one. Infinity on Hannah, if you guys are not familiar, go subscribe, because seriously, this is the best thumbnail that I've ever had. Let's not kid ourselves. So here we go, diving straight into Uno. Uno is a pretty complicated album for me. I loved it right off the bat. You guys probably saw my review of that. It's one of my most popular videos of all time. It's one that I'm not proud of, and it's a review that I regret just because I think I reviewed it a bit early, and also, yeah, I came off very fanboyish in that video, and I am not proud of that whatsoever. I think what was going on there is just that I was so excited for new Green Day material. It was the first album that I had from them since I graduated high school. 21st Century Breakdown came out right whenever I was a senior in high school, and this album is something that came at a turning point in my life. I was 20 years old, and I was ready for something new from these guys. And Uno isn't per se a bad album, it's a bad album by Green Day standards. The lyrical content is weak. Some of these songs just flat out suck. And I think a lot of that just goes back to Billy Joe Armstrong writing so many songs. He wrote a ton of songs. There's 3 albums here, and they all came out within 3 months. They should have just taken the best songs from all of the albums and maybe put them into one longer album, or at the very least condense it down to 2, because 3 just was not necessary. And I think, honestly, reflecting on it 4 years later, Uno got the weakest batch of songs. There are some fantastic songs on here though, and we're going to talk about both sides of the story. As much as I praised this album back in the day, Oh Love was released as the lead single, and it did not get me very excited. It was just kind of a slow-moving, slow-lit fuse that didn't really take off for me until months later. And I can say now that it is a song that I appreciate. It's one that I come back to occasionally, and I can really respect what it's going for. I like that they have more of a mellow vibe here, but they still fall into a groove. It's got a nice little guitar solo on it, but I think it kind of encapsulates what this album was doing wrong in a sense, and I think Green Day were doing wrong at this time in their career. They had fallen into this rut of writing a bunch of songs and just putting a guitar solo like on every track and having all of the lyrical content just try to focus on, I suppose on this album, it was supposed to be 3 different stages, you know, like you're going to the party, getting to the party, which was Dos, and then the after party, which was Tre. And I feel like they were focusing a lot on trying to write from a certain point of view here, and they were talking about like going out or getting ready, or maybe one night stands. There was a lot of different stuff discussed on Uno, but not a ton of it made that much sense. And whenever it did come through clearly, or you started to pay attention to the lyrics, things got a little bit cringeworthy, because I just feel like they are capable of writing so much better, you know? I mean, like some of these songs, you look at Troublemaker, Loss of Control, or Fell For You, and it's just like, what were we thinking here? Let's look at Loss of Control, a song that I really feel like highlights a lot of the problems that I feel with Uno. It's one that has that kind of typical vocal performance from Armstrong here. He's kind of sing-talking as he does on this record. We see that again on Troublemaker, even a few other times on songs that I do like. And it's okay to an extent whenever it starts off that way, but I really don't feel like there's much going on here. A very run-of-the-mill guitar, some lyrics that just don't move me or the listener really, I feel like, in any way. They don't add anything new to the conversation, and it just feels like Green Day on cruise control here. I mean, look at one of the opening lines on the song. Woke up in a pool of sweat, almost thought that I pissed the bed. What? There's a few other songs that kind of remind me of these tropes that they fall into, but fortunately they're lifted out because of their strong elements. I feel like Rusty James is one of those songs that I listen to years later, and I see it as starting off kind of in this meandering way. Okay, I'm not exactly sure where they're going, but it comes through with one of the most solid hooks on the entire record. And then Angel Blue, a song that I initially really enjoyed, but now consider more middle of the road. I still appreciate certain things about this song. I really like Trey's drum pattern on this one, and even the chorus. It's catchy and heartfelt enough, along with Sweet 16 as well. That's one that I really enjoy. It seems like a song for Armstrong's wife that definitely gets the job done. But that's Uno for me. It kind of gets the job done, but there's nothing too special, except for a few songs that we're going to talk about now. The second half of this album, nervously looking over at the director, making this face and going like, God. But the first half has some really strong songs that I thoroughly enjoy all these years later. Nuclear Family opens things up, a blast with the guitar, a fun as hell song to sing along with, and I like the lyrical content on it as well. Gonna ride the world like a merry-go-round. It just sucks you in right off the bat, and you're thinking, okay, I'm in for some cool songs here. I like that they're kind of getting back to basics. They've stripped away all of the rock opera stuff. You're just getting back into this new album, and then that feel continues on the next song, Stay the Night, another one of my absolute favorites here. It is talking about a one-night stand here. Say you'll stay the night. It's catchy. It's got a nice effervescent guitar melody to it, and I like it. It kind of reels you in with its story, and I kind of like how he incorporates something from a live setting as well, where he's kind of like, hey, oh, you know, he's always shouting that at concerts. If you've ever watched one of their concerts, been to one of their concerts, you know that Billy Joe is always singing that into the mic and then holding it out to the crowd because he wants crowd participation, and I feel like they kind of incorporated that into a song, and I think that's absolutely cool as hell. You guys probably know that I love Let Yourself Go, just a total fuck you anthem, just talking about throwing everything away and letting yourself party, relax, whatever it needs to be, whatever you need to do it. Let Yourself Go is a blast, a big ride, a big jolt of energy this album really needed. Carpe Diem is another one that's in those first 4 songs right there, and it's fantastic. Carpe Diem, seize the day, live in a cliche. They're aware that that term is overused, but they made a song about it and actually made it stand out. And then of course Kill the DJ, one that has a rocking, spectacular vibe. I love the guitars on this one. The music video for it is great as well. It's something that I never expected from Green Day, but I never expected them to pull it off this well. It's kind of like this weird disco-tinged arena-ready rock song that works on a lot of different odd levels and talks about killing the DJ, shoot that fucker down, and I just love how involved I feel in the song. I feel like I genuinely hate whoever this person is, and I want to hold him underwater till that motherfucker drowns. And it's a song, you look at the lyrical content, if you're just reading along on Genius before you've heard the song, you're probably like, wow, this song is going to be terrible, but somehow they pull it off. While Uno is probably my least favorite Green Day album to date, I really do feel like you should check it out, see what you think, because obviously everybody's gonna hear the trilogy differently. But for my first summation here, I'm gonna have to say a 3 out of 5 years later for Uno, down from my initial 5 out of 5, which is crazy to think about, but times change. There's gonna be more information in the description about my opinions, least favorite songs, ratings, and all of that good stuff for the albums. Let's move on to Dose. When I initially reviewed Dose back in 2012, I gave it a 4.5, and I feel like that was something that I just did because I felt so strongly about Green Day. It was like, oh, this will grow on me, and I promise that I never do that now. That's not something that I do. I don't assume ratings, but I feel like I kind of did that with Dose. Really, how I was feeling about it at the time, if I had been honest with myself, probably a 3.5, because I would have to say now that Dose is probably the one that has grown on me the most. This is an album that is very loud, in your face, brash, and I love that about it. It's got a nice spunk, and it really picks up from Uno. I feel like this is much more consistent all throughout. I mean, dismiss a couple of songs here and there that are kind of cringeworthy, like Fuck Time. I mean, I don't understand how Billie Joe stumbled onto that one and how anyone could ever think that that's sexy. If you go into your room saying to your spouse, "Oh baby, baby, it's fuck time," please don't even tell me the results, because they're not going to be good. Other than that, I really feel pretty strongly about Dose being a solid, consistent record. I mean, sure, there's songs that don't jump off the page as much as others, but that doesn't make them bad. Even Nightlife, I know that that's what you guys are already talking about in the comments, probably wondering, oh, does he hate it as much as everybody else does? And the answer is no. Sure, the lyrics are pretty see-through, kind of razor thin, but I like that kind of haze that it comes through. I love the bass line on that song. Holy shit, Mike Dirnt kills it. Not only on that song, but really all throughout here. There's some really great bass lines going on here, and I really like songs like Baby Eyes, Stop When the Redlights Flash. They add a nice texture to all of these songs, and always have in Green Day's career. Their whole discography, if you look through it, you see a really strong point that you don't always see with bands. It's those bass lines that really creep up on you and just make you fall in love with the songs a little bit more. Nightlife is one of those tracks where you focus on the bass because it's at the forefront. Even the guitar on here, whenever it comes through, feels a little bit dirty. It has that western nighttime feel to it, if that makes any sense. Lady Cobra is featured on this song, and I feel like a lot of people just hate it for the sake of hating it. They don't really pay much attention to it. They probably heard it once or twice and they were like, no, I'm never listening to this again. And that's such a weird and very small-minded opinion to have, because this song actually has something to offer. Do I want Green Day to do more stuff like this? No, but I can accept this. At least in an album with so many songs, a trilogy I should say, at least they dared to mix it up a little bit. If I had to pick a favorite section on this record, it would be tracks 4 through 7. It's 4 songs in a row that just come off so solid. It's a great winning streak for the album, starting with Lazybones. It's one that sees him kind of reflecting maybe insomnia once again. Billy's had problems with that over the years, and obviously during this time, whenever he was writing Uno, Dos, and Tre, he was not completely sober. In fact, he was pretty much off the bandwagon. That was probably affecting his writing style and that sort of thing, because I'm so tired. That's the refrain that we get here before those guitars really kick in with that huge chorus where he's singing, "I can't take it anymore," before having that breakdown where it comes to a total silence and then kicks in with a furious guitar solo. I love that because it flows perfectly from that into Wild One. Another one of those kind of longing tracks. Reminds me of something like Outlaws in a way, because he's singing she's my wild one. He's talking about his wife here once again and saying that, you know, she's got all of these qualities that I really like about her, but why is she with me in a way? And it's like he wrote it when he was a younger person looking back and kind of reflecting on a different time period, and I really enjoy it whenever artists do that. Makeout Party is another huge favorite for me. I love the way the guitars and the drums play with each other. They kind of have a nice chemistry there. And then of course the bass breakdown on this one, just one of the best things on Dose. That is flat out fun right there, and that is hard to deny. And of course Billy's vocals during that whole bass breakdown, fantastic. Right after that, we get the single Stray Heart, which really kicks it back to like the 60s styles of rock, I would say. Kind of a fast-paced guitar, nice little fun, choppy bass groove going on, and you just really want to sing along with it. It's a fun, catchy tune. Everything that I want from you. And it's just a longing track, but I just can't have you. The music video pretty much sums it up perfectly. The heart running all around town, and you don't know what to do other than follow it. I'm a big fan of some of the in-your-face cuts on this record. Wow, That's Loud has those shrilling guitars right off the bat that really just draw you into the track. And then Lady Cobra, a song that comes right before Nightlife, named after the guest that appears on Nightlife. That's kind of confusing, but also kind of cool at the same time. Lady Cobra starts off with those kind of choppy guitars once again, but it really gets you into it, and I like that they kind of layered on the guitar on top of that. And then Billy's vocals there, kind of talking about this girl. Well, I met a girl named Lady Cobra. It's something that you really just kind of fall in line with the story, and that coming out of Baby Eyes, another one of the most fantastic cuts on Dose, is just fantastic. Kind of a euphoric experience at this part in the record. Reflection is key for this record as well. I already talked about him talking about his wife, like on Wild One, Lazybones, kind of an introspective cut, and then it starts off the album and closes the album on those notes as well. Slower moments that aren't so abrasive, but at the same time, you respect them all the more. See You Tonight is this kind of laid back, hazy song, just an acoustic guitar and Billy's vocals. Maybe I'll See You Tonight, just a short 1-minute track before kicking into Fuck Time. Kind of a weird transition there, but I'll forgive it because I really like it. And then at the very end of this record, we get a very, very heartfelt moment in the form of Amy. Track number 13 is just fantastic. I love how he's reaching out to the late singer Amy Winehouse, who was gone too soon. She died in her late 20s, and he was just inspired to write this song for her. 27 gone without a trace, and he's just kind of reflecting on her life, everything that she's leaving behind, and realizing that that will one day happen to him. I feel like there's a trace of self-awareness in this track, and I love that about it. The vocal performance on Amy is, I dare say, the best on the entire album. He really reaches new heights here, pushes the album forward, and I love how it just kind of closes out on this somber note, an acoustic guitar and Armstrong's voice. Overall though, I really do enjoy Dose. It's grown on me so much since I first started listening to it, and I'm gonna have to go with a 4.5 once again, but for very different reasons.
Right inside a maze, I got no destination. I'm a little boy named Train. Ask me again, I'll tell you the same.
The final album in the trilogy is, of course, TRE, named after drummer Tré Cool. I like how they did that. Uno, dos, TRE. It makes sense. If you're going to put out 3 albums and you've got a drummer named Tré, the least you could do is name an album after that in some way. On this album, we kind of get the after party, as they refer to it as, and I feel like this is the album that I've had the least amount of change in terms of my opinion. I initially rated this album a 4 out of 5, and I'm going to let you know right now that I stand by that. But once again, I feel like for different reasons, at the time, for some reason, I felt like TRE was the weakest in the trilogy, but now I would say, along with Dose, pretty much the strongest elements that we have here. Some fantastic songs, but unfortunately, there's a couple of songs that kind of weigh it down. There's songs like 99 Revolution that just feel so basic and limited to me. I like the drum rhythm in a way, but at the same time, it almost feels lifted from other songs, and I don't really care for that part of it. There's also a few songs that have gotten harder for me to listen to over time just because they haven't aged well, in my opinion at least. I feel like the more I listen to the album, the more I skip over these tracks. Ones like Sex, Drugs, and Violence, I don't really care for that one all that much. Sex, Drugs, and Violence, English, Math, and Science, I mean, the chorus on it is just kind of weak, if I'm being honest. The lyrical content just isn't there for what the song's energy tries to be. And Mike singing on this track, I usually like that element, but I honestly didn't feel like it fit in here, and that's kind of a shame. And I also feel that way about tracks like Drama Queen, kind of a slow-paced romp that has some weird pianos in it and kind of an acoustic guitar, some questionable lyrics, I suppose, but I don't know, maybe I just don't understand the point of this song all that much. Now that we've gotten those out of the way and I can stop being a negative Nancy, we can talk about some of the best parts of this album and why it works so well and holds up years later. Brutal Love, we obviously get the sample of the older song and it works so well. Who would have thought that Green Day would have pulled off an older style of music so well? A punk band doing something that sounds like it could have fit in with like the 50s or the 60s, kind of almost a jazzy affectation to it, and then a splendid guitar solo that fits so well with those romping keys on this one. It gets louder and louder as it goes. The nice crescendo in the final act of this song is absolutely perfect. I love that they do that, and it moves perfectly into track number 2, Missing You. It's talking about this guy that's really just going all over the place looking for what he thought he had, but he doesn't have it, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm waking up now. I'm missing you. You're the element of my life that I don't have, that I need. And it's a fun little song, maybe a little bit simple, but at the same time, it's got a great bass line on it. I love that they break it down to just that bass groove and the guitar and the bridge of this track. One of the best bridges in the trilogy, I would say, to be quite honest. I really love the vibe of the song. There's definitely some fast-paced tracks on here, some punk-leaning drumming from Tré Cool on tracks like Amanda, my absolute favorite, alongside Dirty Rotten Bastards. 2 fantastic tracks. We'll talk about those a little bit more in detail in just a minute. 8th Avenue Serenade is another one that I really like the fast-paced vibe of as well. Really kind of fits well with this album's theme. I mean, it is kind of winding down. It's the after party, but there's still life in you. You want to keep going. It might be 2 a.m., but we're gonna puke and rally here, boys. We talked about reflection with Dose, but that's definitely seen even more so here. Amanda, like I said, about an old girlfriend, an old flame. For Billy, he's talked about her several times before, but this is the first time that he actually named a song after her, went as far as to just say, Amanda, don't you know? And he went into all of these details about their relationship. Amanda, I couldn't be your man. That's basically the whole theme and summation of the track. And then we dive into X-Kid, talking about somebody who's getting older, being a little bit misunderstood, never really quite fitting in. And while I do feel like the song is underrated because it was released as like the only single off of TRE, I don't get the hype around it entirely just because it's not a favorite of mine, but I can definitely understand why some are drawn to it. Another one that I feel like people kind of overlook and dismiss because it was used in the Twilight film. God forbid anybody license their music to a film or make a music video for a film. The Forgotten, the final song here. I think it's a fantastic ballad. A lot of people are just gonna shrug it off and say, it was used in Twilight. I'm never gonna listen to that shit again. Well, Decode by Paramore was used in Twilight. So was a CeeLo Green song, and so was a Florence and the Machine song. There's a lot of great music that came out of Twilight, and while I cannot stand those movies or just the premise of what they're all about or the terrible acting, I have to say they did a great job on picking out artists for the soundtrack. There's a sense of camaraderie that goes along with this album because maybe you're at last call at the bar, and I could just almost picture singing these songs along with some of these people. I've mentioned that about Horseshoes and Hand Grenades in the past with that song whenever I was talking about the album with Spectrum Pulse on 21st Century Breakdown, and then with Dirty Rotten Bastards, I've talked about it before, but I kind of feel that way, singing along, calling all demons, this is the season. I can just picture that, and I love that this song is broken into multiple parts. I'm a sucker for long Green Day songs that have multiple stages. I love that it gets fast-paced, breaks down to just a bass and guitar, has different stages, and then finally closes out just by going back to the first part of the song and doing it so well. I also kind of get that feel with A Little Boy Named Train. I'm not exactly sure why that song would make me want to sing around with random strangers, but it kind of does. There's just a determination about that song. It's the little engine that could. It keeps plugging along and it gets you there. It gets the job done, and it does more than that, I would say, because it gets stuck in your head. It is becoming one of my favorites on TRE as I re-listen to it. The only song that I haven't mentioned at this point is Walk Away, and it's not a favorite of mine, but I do like that there's kind of a key shift in the guitar in that final part that makes it a lot more enjoyable in its final stage, but overall I can't say that it's either a least favorite or a favorite for me. I do enjoy TRE as an album. I can't say that it's the best in the trilogy necessarily for me, but it's really close, and it kind of surprised me as Dose kind of overtook my absolute favorite. For a while, I was saying that TRE was my favorite, but I'm gonna stick with a 4 out of 5 for TRE. I do hope you enjoyed my trilogy review today, guys. Don't forget to drop a like on the video, and of course, check out the amino apps. It's the top 2 links in the description down below. Friends don't let friends go and subscribe, so click that subscribe button. Click right down here if you'd like to see my top 20 Green Day video or another Green Day review that I've done, because this pretty much completes all of my Green Day album reviews except for their debut. Thanks for watching today, and I will see you guys very soon right here on ARTV.